My best try scorer tip for this week in round 25 is, like we've mentioned, I don't think you want to face a healthy Roosters team. How many New Zealanders live on the Gold Coast? It is 7.1% of the Gold Coast is actually Kiwis.
Hello and welcome back to Ahead of the Game Sports Chat with Sports Pez, Jez and Tuck Sports Takes from bets.com.au. Jez, this week we're going to get straight into the thick of things. It's almost finals time. What I want you to give me straight off the bat is your best try scorer for this weekend.
Well, starting off with our try scorer tip. My best try scorer tip for this week in round 25 is Casey McLean, the 19-year-old from born and bred in Blacktown, over playing for Penrith Panthers, obviously has been an absolute phenomenon for the Panthers. How do they just keep breeding this hectic talent? Like, it's insane what he has done. 19 years old, and he didn't score last week, but has 2, 4, 6 tries in the previous 4 games before that. So obviously been scoring tries all year. He's fit right in and obviously made a big difference for the Panthers this week. And look, they're coming up against Canberra, a massive game. It's bigger, I would say, for Canberra chasing the minor premiership, but also the Penrith Panthers chasing the top 4. So I think there's going to be Panthers are a little bit dirty after losing to Melbourne last week. So I'm expecting them to go pretty hard and put up some points this week against Canberra. And if there's points, there's Casey McLean.
Mate, growing up in Western Sydney, it's so good to have all these guys from the areas that I grew up running around playing footy in.
You really
Blacktown
look like you're from Blacktown, don't you?
Mount Druitt, Wayland. My pop
there
lived in Wayland. My dad grew up in Lethbridge Park. It's like home. Mate, I'm going a different road, and it's a little bit of a cop out because the dude's leading the NRL in tries this season, Xavier Coates. But can't.
It's got to be a lock.
It's got to be a lock. You've seen how Daniel Tupou scored tries last weekend against the Bulldogs. They just kick to him. He jumps up over it, and there's probably only one other guy in the NRL that can jump like that, take marks over his head, and then come down and score tries. And it's Xavier Coates for Melbourne. He is my lock for try scorer this weekend.
I'm going to make everybody just jitter on that because this is all about head-to-head at the moment. And you said that he's the only other guy that can take big jumps like that. I'm calling it and saying there's one more guy in the league that can jump like that, and that's Zach Lomax, and those two are going to be head-to-head this week. Right?
Tubes and Lomax.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting.
What do you call it? Like an aeroplane battle or battle of the skies? Got to find a good name for that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that and put it in the, I don't know, in the comments maybe.
There was another guy that I thought about watching the games on the weekend, Tolu Koula for Manly. Did you see the way that guy played? Like, just tackle breaks, and he's so quick. He just outpaced, ran, just past the dudes on that Tigers team. And he scored He scored in 3 straight games for the Sea Eagles, and they're playing the Dolphins, who we know their defense can crack at just the drop of a hat. So he could be another guy if you're looking for a little bit more value down further in the odds list, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. He's been an absolute gun. Cole's been sort of building for a while, but he had a few injuries there. But I think now he's starting to settle, and he's been scoring tries. One of the only good things coming out of Manly at the moment, unfortunately.
All right, Jez, let's get into our round 24 wrap. And mate, shocking weekend for me.
Yeah, good weekend for me. We picked 2 different, and I nailed them both. We've been going on these runs, it feels like, since we've started this pod, and it's like one of us goes good, one of us goes average. We're not sort of splitting often the different tips that we make. It's like one guy goes good, one guy goes shit. But I'm consistently average at the moment. It feels like since starting this. I think the first week I got 7, and then I've just gone 5s. So it's like sort of how I look. I'm just that little bit above average.
Well, it's good that you know your place in the world, and you can see from me, I'm way below
A
average
little
here.
below average.
Well, there's got to be guys like me, so there can be guys like you. So
Yeah. That's why I hang out with you. That's what gives me. I'm actually just average, but you're a little bit below average, so it makes me
push
that
you
a
up.
little bit above average. Yeah.
It's my
That's how
job.
it works.
I'm that kind of friend. I'm the
Yeah.
funny one. You're the good-looking one.
Yeah. You're the geek. You're smarter. I've just got that little bit better glimmer in my eye, maybe.
The
Back to the footy.
We're going all day about this. The Panthers and Storm game, I don't know, we don't really need to break it down, but
Mm.
there were so many different places or spots in that game where I guess any team could have won. And do you feel that, us tipping Penrith in that game, do you think we, really failed, or you think it was just like, hey, they had the game to win and they just didn't happen, but it could have just as easily gone to Penrith as it went to Melbourne?
Yeah, absolutely. It was always a flip of the coin game, but I felt Panthers had control of that game at the start, and they just sort of turned off, and they allowed Melbourne to build momentum. And it's like with both of these teams, the one thing you don't want to do is let them build any sort of momentum. And the game just sort of paused there for a while, which played into Melbourne's hands, and then they clawed their way back, and all of a sudden Harry Grant goes through a gaping hole in the 82nd minute or whatever it was, and wins the game. But could have easily gone the other way. But I think it was a game really that Penrith lost more than, like, Melbourne obviously stayed in the game. I'm not saying that Melbourne didn't do anything, but I think Panthers had it and they just took their foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah. Dragons as well. Bit disappointing. We both tipped them and looked like they had the game in their hands until they didn't. And
Yeah.
it's another one of these
Dragons.
close losses for the Dragons this year, another close win for the Warriors, but good for the
Mm.
Wars to get that reassuring win just to keep them in touch
Yeah.
with the top teams.
Yeah, as 100%. That's a huge, huge win for them, especially with Penrith going down. They regained fourth spot, and then Penrith have a pretty tough run over the next few weeks. So all of a sudden, the Warriors could actually hold on to that top 4 spot. I was calling they were going to drop out of the 8th, but now all of a sudden they got a good run. They're maybe finding a little bit more stability with their defense, and could end up staying in the top 4.
Well, now you'd say it's almost impossible for them to drop out of the 8. They're on 13 wins. The Dolphins are 9th. There's 3 games left. So,
Yeah, they're safe pretty much.
Yeah. The Bulldogs and the Roosters was the one where you got your first win over me, and I think once again didn't back my own team.
Yeah,
What happened? I had the jersey on last week and everything.
yeah, because they won the week before.
God, terrible.
So they've been on a tear. They are. It feels like they're going to be able to hold on to their spot coming into the finals. And like we've mentioned, I don't think you want to face a healthy Roosters team. I think
No.
they're so unpredictable. I think they can beat anybody in the top 8. They're a force. Like, look at Teddy, man. He's a beast. He's gone to another level. It feels like got rid of all that representative weight, and now he's just focusing on the Roosters, and it's been so beneficial for them. And Tupou, man, like Tupou Sam Walker combination is as good as any combination in the NRL at the moment.
We spoke about it in the finals preview that we did with League of Inches and Joel. It's a good app. You can check it out. The link's in the description. But he said as well, it was like, there's no other team in this bunch that you are more scared of coming into finals than you're gonna meet the Roosters. And if you're one of those top 4 teams and you lose that first week and you know that you're going to have to play the Roosters, scary.
Yeah, scary. They've got so much experience. Like, there is the young talent, but they've got so many guys there that have done it before and had a finals run before, and that's what makes them even more dangerous.
And Victor Radley shut down Kick Out. He was all over him like a rash. That's the kind of stuff that team can do. They can just set guys targets and they deliver multiple targets throughout the game, different players.
Yeah.
And that you can't, it's difficult to do that with such a structured team like the Bulldogs or with Penrith. You have to work more as a team to do it all. Melbourne can't do that. So it will be very interesting to see them as a team going into finals. The Sharkies, flat track bullies, belted your bloody Titans as we predicted.
Yeah. Crushed them. Titans even scored 2 late tries in that game, so it was an absolute belting. I don't think there's much to say about it except, it's another crushing win by the Sharks against a shit team. And that's what they do. They do it well, but still doesn't answer any questions at all. Doesn't make anything more confusing. The Sharks are what the Sharks are. They beat up the small kids in the park.
And they're on the bye this weekend, so it'll mean that they, they're also safe for finals and pretty much.
They need to win probably one game of one of those two to be completely safe, you would think, right?
Yeah, I mean,
if the Dolphins go 3 from 3.
Yeah, exactly. Just because the Dolphins for and against. But at the moment, the Sharks have a better for and against than what the Dolphins do, or a differential. So it'd be more likely the Roosters or... Oh, no, sorry. I was looking at the Broncos differential. I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
The Sharks are in trouble if they lose.
Yeah, they lose both of their games. So,
or if the Dolphins keep winning.
Yeah, which will... Winning. They've been losing.
Yeah, well, that's one we missed.
Yeah, they had it. They had the game. They had their game in their hands and couldn't put it away. And it's like, that's huge for them because you see, if you look at the table, they could have been on the same points as Brisbane. It could have been a lock with 3 teams on 28 points on the ladder. So, that's huge. That game could eventually be the game that costs them their first finals appearance because they've got to now win. With the Roosters in the form that they're in, the Sharks on the bye, they've pretty much got to win all their games on this little short run home. But that one could have really changed it and put a lot of pressure on Brisbane to win their run, like every game in their run home. So it's a shame for the Dolphins because they look good.
The stats between the two halves there, Brisbane had 69% of the territory in the first half. And the Dolphins had 53% of territory in the second half, but were outscored. Both had only 12 tackles inside opposition 20. The completion rates were roughly the same. Line breaks roughly the same. The big thing that just stuck out was Brisbane had more offloads in the second half, but 31 missed tackles from the Dolphins in the second half of the game. And you're not winning football games if you're missing 56 tackles in a game.
Yeah, absolutely not. Obviously, that's why the score was so high. And it was explosive plays, it's line breaks, it's scoring from outside your 20, not building pressure, it's just points. And it's usually due, obviously, to poor defence. So it's a shame for the Dolphins, really. It's sad that they're not going to be in, but it highlights again just how important Herbie Farnworth is. They've just fallen off the rails since then in attack and even defensively.
Out of the last 3 games, I think there's not really much to speak about except for the West Tigers and Manly. The Tigers just looked dominant, and they've reached now the most wins they've had in the last decade. I think it was somebody said on a commentary. And that's credit to the team and what they're building there. And we spoke about this. I don't know if we said it on the pod, but I know I definitely said it to you. It's in around Supercoach. Adam Doueihi, how good have the Tigers been since he's gone into the halves?
Yeah. There was one game about a month ago where he moved in because they had some guys go down and he just changed the game. I think they still lost, but they put up a massive fight in the second half. And he's been awesome. Like I don't know. You sort of also put this down to when Lockie Galvin disappeared. Tigers come good.
Yeah.
Like, so, what's happened, and Canterbury gone something like this. So it's like, I don't know. There's sometimes guys in a team where, he's got talent, but he's just not fitting. And if he's going to fit at Canterbury or not, who knows? Like, there's obviously a lot more around that, but it's very interesting that they went a little off rails, and the West Tigers have now won 4 of their last 6. And in the last 2 games against Canterbury, Manly, they've allowed 14 points and 12 points. So, like, their defense has sharpened up. Manly can put on points. They've been a bit obviously rusty, but Canterbury also should have some good attack. But so they've done well. It's going to be interesting to see how they go next year and if they can actually push the 8.
Yeah. What? Just, I don't know. Quick question. I have to go too far on it. Do you feel what are they missing? Is it a quality kind of lock or a center, or what position do they need? Okay, this guy could make a difference.
Because it feels their backs have been pretty good and pretty electric. Like I think it's like probably continuing to build their pack. I think they've got to keep being able to just move the ball forward and be able to stay in the grind and defend their line, and just find some more consistency and not relying on sort of explosive attack for them to score tries. Like, they have the talent to do that. And you've got, like, when they're full strength, they're a force. And you even see with Taylor May coming in, it sort of gave them that little bit more strike in the back line. And the like two May brothers now. I'm like, what?
Hectic.
It was the perfect 2 bad boys, 2 rough nuts from the West, and you put them in the same team, and it builds that culture. So it feels they've got that, but they just need to be able to work the grind a little bit more. So, yeah, I'd say just continuing to work on having a solid pack and being able to just control the game, control the territory through their forwards.
All right, let's get into round 25 predictions and the first game of the weekend, the South Sydney Rabbitohs against the Dragons. This is the only game we've picked separately from each other.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm all over. I'm gonna move my notes. I've even been taking notes this week, Ryan. I'm getting locked in. What do they call it now in America? It's like I went into the lab before this pod, man, and went down and and knuckled down into the stats in the lab. But yeah, South going pretty good. They've won the last 2, so it's and defense. They played Parramatta and the Gold Coast. They haven't allowed over 20 points in the last 2 games. So, like, that's a massive plus, because they were allowing, I think, at one stage there an average of like 34 points in their last 5 games, sort of a few weeks ago. So that's obviously a massive positive for them. They beat St. George last time they played at Wynn Stadium. So that's a tough task. So there's always obviously this Charity Shield duel between these two teams. So I think it's a close one. I think it's a really sort of flip of the coin. It depends what Dragons team shows up, which you never know. And I think South, Wayne Bennett, maybe since Latrell's been back, they've looked a bit better, a little bit more organised, at least in defence. Still just lacking strike power in attack, but you don't need to score a lot of points against St. George, I don't think.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I picked the Dragons here more on a bit of feeling, and just it looked like that team has really come together. And even though they lost last weekend, they were still in it for a lot of the game and against a good opponent. And yeah, looking at the stats, it's not terrific for the Dragons as the away team. They have the worst away record, 2-9. Their points conceded is on the road is 15th ranked. But the last 5 has been a lot better. They're averaging under 20 points conceded in their last 5 games, the Dragons, which is a big turnaround from the 30.3 they're averaging on the road this season. But they are 3-2 Oh no, that's the favorite. That's the wrong one. Yeah, they are favorites. Dragons are favorites, and they're 3 and
Yeah.
2 ATS as the favorite, which is a number that I like. And I think
Yeah.
it's going to be close. You see the predicted score line here. It's going to be a close battle. I don't think it's going to be high scoring either. The defense, as you kind
No.
of alluded to, over the past few weeks has definitely picked up for both of these teams as they try and players, I think, trying to play for their spots for their contracts a little bit next year and want to be part of these teams that have a bit of a bright future ahead of them with well, especially for the Dragons. They've locked in Flanagan now for a couple of years and they've shown promise. They maybe not a team that's going to compete for a premiership over the next year or two, but they could definitely look to be in the 8 next year if another team falls away because of injury or has a bit of bad luck.
Yeah, 100%. I think the hottest tip in this game, though, mate, is definitely the under.
Mm.
So, like, our predicted score is predicting just under. The under's 40, like the game total 44.5. But South Sydney, man, 17 of 22 games this year have hit the under, and it was 3 of the last 4 Dragons games have also gone under. So we said, both of us, Dragons obviously playing much better defensively, and then they've started to get good. Rabbitohs won their last 2 based on their defense, not sort of blowing teams out with their electrifying attack, which they don't have. So I think definitely the under in this one. I like it at 44.5 too. Pretty high. Pretty high number. So that's the tip of the weekend right there on Thursday night, mate.
Yeah.
Love playing with the bank's money when you just get up early. Happens never.
Of course, head over to bets.com.au to look at every single game preview as they are uploaded throughout the week. Jez, myself, and Andy writing those, and you get the cheat sheet in every single game as well, which gives you all the analyst stuff we just picked out from the games there. It's all there for you to peruse at your leisure. The first game of Friday night, it's top of the, well, we can't say top of the table because Penrith aren't there, but
Well, it is.
Penrith versus Canberra. And, this could be a grand final preview, most definitely.
100%.
And the game's being played in Bathurst or Mudgee or something.
Oh, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
but it is a
Mudgee.
home game for the Panthers. They've taken it on the road. Panthers have an amazing record in this time slot, 13 wins from 17 games. So that's something in their favour here. But the Raiders this season have only lost 1 game against the current top 8 opponent. So they've been good against good teams as well.
Yeah. I think we pulled a stat last week that they've won the most games against top 8 teams. So it's impressive. But mate, my lab notes, I got to throw them all at you while I'm hot and while I'm on. But both these teams, Panthers went on a 9-10 run, just losing last week, obviously to Melbourne. Canberra 10 of 11. Both of those, though, both of their runs, they've only played 2 top 8 teams. So
the same
top
8 teams.
Put a lot of question. What's that?
They played the same teams, same top 8 teams, or not?
I don't know. That's too deep in the lab for me, mate. I just skim off the top. I just jump in. But either way, I think it's interesting because it's obviously the Panthers needed to get out of trouble, and then they've all of a sudden had that sort of easier run in the schedule in hindsight, looking at strength of schedule. The Raiders also maybe had it a little bit tougher at the start, but went on their massive run against easier teams, you could say. So I think, I don't know, it makes this game sort of really interesting because it's going to put everything in perspective, I think, of how good are the Raiders, how good are the Panthers. Obviously, both teams have like massive strengths and have shown that they deserve to be in the top 4 and are probably the 2 premiership favourites besides Melbourne Storm. So I think this is really going to give us a level heading into the finals of what these teams actually are. And then if it's a close one, then we're going to be like, okay, perfect. Both of them are going to be a danger heading into September. But Yeah, if there's a blowout here, I think it's going to put a lot of question marks on the quality of that the side that loses, because you're coming actually up against good competition at the right time of the year. We saw what happened last week between Panthers and Melbourne and how tight that was. If that's not like that in this game, I think it's going to bring up a lot of question marks. So it's an important game, I think, for momentum heading into the finals.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. And, I've picked the Panthers because I just believe that their consistency and their structure will get them over the line in a low scoring game. Canberra, they rank 8th in the league in run meters to their opposition. So they're right around the middle. Their opponents are getting into the 20, the red zone, at the was it fifth highest rate. So they're ranked 12th. Their opponents are having 30 tackles per game inside 20, but they are number one in opposition try scoring efficiency. So they're only allowing a try for every 11.9 tackles, which there's only 3 teams in the league that are in that 11 tackle. It's the Raiders, the Roosters, and the Dragons. But the Dragons also allow a lot of points from all over the field. So it's not specifically the try line. But the Raiders, that's important for them in their defensive structures, that they can hold extremely tight on their try line, and their defensive structures and the communication between all the players works at a very high rate. And I think that's going to be an important factor in this game, coming up against a so structured attack like the Panthers that want to build pressure and want to get into that area and then can execute as well with the players they have on their team. It's going to be an extremely exciting match to watch and see how the coaches try to kind of pick at each other to exploit the weaknesses or to exploit the chinks in the armor, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point you brought up, because I think there's even question marks from last week, right, about the Penrith Panthers and their attack, like coming up against these good defensive teams. Like Melbourne's defense has been phenomenal over the last, say, half of the season. And like I said, it sort of felt like they had momentum at the start and put on some tries, and then it just sort of stopped. Melbourne sorted it out. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Panthers attack does go on the line if they do get all of these chances or these 30 tackles inside the 20, and how many tries they can actually take out of it. And yeah, what a great sort of historic Canberra coaching battle it's going to be when both of these guys are coaching teams that are at the top, which probably hasn't happened in a really long time, since probably Sticky was in Sydney. What, for the Roosters, they would have had a couple of clashes against Melbourne during that time. So that, like, otherwise, I think it's going to be sort of a really, really interesting battle heading into the finals. Who's going to win? Which defense holds up? Which attack? Can Canberra score against quality defense of the Penrith Panthers as well? So, ripping game of the round, obviously.
Second game of Friday night, 2 massive blockbusters. The Storm hosting the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, we've spoken about them for so long now. They weren't extremely poor against the Roosters, I don't think, like as a general football team. They lost the game, but they're going to be there in finals time, and I think they got a lot still to learn and figure out in their team. I have trouble seeing them beating the Storm here.
Yeah,
just
it's
from their
copy
attack.
and paste. Like you said, with Xavier Coates, it's copy and paste inside 20. If Melbourne win the territory battle, I think that's where the game's going to be probably won or lost, is who can actually win that battle, get the most chances to attack, or more so if Canterbury give up chances to attack to Melbourne, they're just going to do exactly what the Roosters did and kick to Coates high on the line with some precision kicking, and probably have a chance to run away with this game like the Roosters did if they give it up. But I don't know. I think Burton's going to need to have a massive game with the boot. Like, I was watching even his kicks against the Roosters, man. It's like his foot is on like an elastic band. It's like he's got the same sort of kicking motion, but it feels like from his knee down, it just like pings, and the ball just like disappears. It's incredible. Like had a low 40-20 attempt that like almost got a 40-20. And another just like bomb where I think it went like 70 meters. So it's insane.
Crazy.
But I still don't think it's going to be enough. I'm also definitely on the Melbourne bandwagon at the moment. Their defense has been phenomenal. In their run, they've also had a massive run of 10 wins from 11 games, just quietly, and an average conceded points of 15.63 during that time. So that's huge.
Massive.
That's premiership defense.
Both of these teams on the season ranked first and second in opposition run meters and opposition line breaks. But the Bulldogs 4-4 against current top 8 teams. The Storm are 6-2. So, and they have a much better record as well in this Friday night time slot. Let's move to Saturday's games. And the first one of Super Saturday, the Manly Sea Eagles coming up against the Dolphins. We're both on the Dolphins. Despite Manly, as we've spoken about so much this season, having the best home record of any team in the NRL over the last 5 or 6 years, it's been slowly being eroded this season because they've been so shit. But they just looked awful last weekend. Just no cohesion, no, like it felt like Cherry Evans was just trying to win the game with everything he did, and no one was really knew what he was doing. And, apart from Tolu Kola, who's just a machine, didn't look like anyone was interested in playing.
No. And it's really like interesting. Obviously been heavy in the NRL news of what happened at the end of the game with Cherry Evans being so extremely emotional. Obviously they don't have their finals chances anymore. It's going to be interesting to see how he responds after that. After being, like you said, there was something going on in that game emotionally for him. He was doing everything he could, and then all of a sudden he broke down at the end of the game. So it's like, there's rumor that he's maybe like just going to retire at the end of this season instead of moving to the Roosters. There hasn't been anything sort of locked there. Was that his like last game? There was a lot of emotion that will maybe get explained a little bit in this, like the rest of the week, but that's going to have a massive impact on Manly, however he responds. And then I think for me, why I've tipped the Dolphins mostly is just, their season's on the line. They lose this game, they're gone. So they need to win. Manly have been in the dumps. It's like massive for them. They play Manly, then they play the Gold Coast next week, and then they play the Raiders in the final round. So there's an opportunity for them to win all three of those games, depending on how many players get rested for the Raiders and what that situation is with the minor premiership in the final round. So they need to keep their dream alive and beat Manly this week. Otherwise, you can pretty much put a line through them as well.
The second game is Super Saturday, and it's a big one. The Titans hosting the Warriors. The Warriors always get a massive crowd to Cbus Super Stadium. And the projected scoreline has them winning by, just over 2 points. So there's something about the Warriors' attack that hasn't been, we've spoken about it almost every week, that it has been suffering a little bit since Luke Metcalf went down, and even at the start of the year when he was still trying to gel in his spot. But against this Titans defense, you've got to think that the Warriors can put a little bit more points on the board.
Yeah, you would think so. And I'm just using my old friend AI Google search and putting in how many New Zealanders live on the Gold Coast. It is 7.1% of the Gold Coast is actually Kiwis. So it's always a big crowd. It's always I think there's usually more New Zealand fans at Cbus than there is Titans fans, because you would say of all of that 7.1%, which is 44.485 thousand people, you would say probably all of them are rugby league fans, and you'd probably get half of them at Cbus on Saturday evening. So expect a big game from the Warriors. But the big thing here is the Gold Coast have won 6 of the last 7 matchups, head-to-head matchups against the Warriors. So beat them just a few rounds ago. in New Zealand. But I think this will be a revenge match. There's so much on the line, like we said, for the Warriors to be able to try and lock in a top 4 spot and likely a second week home final if they get beaten in that first round. So I think it's important for them to want to get some sort of home semi-final, and they need to lock in that top 4 spot. And yeah, the Titans are trash, but they're New Zealand, so could be a tough one.
Yeah. And we did break down a little bit in the finals preview. You can see here on the channel, put the link in the description, the stats around where you finish on the ladder goes a long way to determining your success throughout finals. And we have the win percentages for each team, depending if you finish first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. And we spoke a great deal about. Sorry, mate.
Some surprises there.
Yeah, definitely.
Of where you actually want to finish. It's interesting.
Yeah. So have a look at that one, link in the description there. We had that with League of Inches. The final game of Super Saturday, it's the Parramatta Eels hosting the Roosters. And, we've spoken at length about how good the Roosters have been recently and their charge towards finals. Finally, I'm going to pick them, and they'll probably lose this game just because I've picked them. But these contests are always pretty exciting between these two teams. And I think, Parramatta still have an opportunity to play the disruptor and put a bit of scare tactics into these teams that are trying to get to the finals. But the Roosters, they've won 4 straight, the last 2 at CommBank. So it's a lock.
Yeah, they've won their last 4 against Para. Para's defense has been better, but Canterbury Bulldogs defense has been one of the best in the comp. And look what happened there. Yeah. I just don't see anything stopping the Roosters at the moment. I've been red hot on them for a few weeks, and they just keep making me hotter and hotter and redder and redder. Soon I'll start breaking out in a red beard like you, possibly, if I keep talking about the Roosters. Because they're just we've mentioned on and on and on again. They're the hot team that can definitely cause some trouble in the finals, and they'll push aside Para. Saw that they're not going to have any dramas. Look what South did to them last week. We were both on the Eels. South get up. The Roosters are in a different league.
Roosters are first in the league over the last 5 games in points scored, 32.8 they're averaging, and they're 5th defensively, only allowing 18.6, which is a number that I clearly remember from the Panthers runs over the past year. I think their average per game last year was 18.6. So it's a really good defensive number for the Roosters, who were quite poor earlier in the season. I want people to write in the comments, what can we give a name to this matchup of Zach Lomax and Daniel Tupou in the air? Someone needs to write a comment about what we call that, and then we use that forever.
Just between those two guys, or whenever there's an aerial battle, or is it the battle of Lomax and Tupou?
I think Lomax and Tupou, and then we get another one for when it's Coates. We'll figure that out. Sunday. Newcastle are. If there's a team you're going to relegate, you relegate Newcastle. Come on.
Wow, that's a big, bold statement. You're just going to kick them out of the league.
It's just they're banging their heads against the wall. They're not doing anything. It's fire your coach, get some proper halves and let them play for a couple of games in a row so they can build some structure and some cohesion. I mean, God, they're not going to stand a chance against the Broncos.
No. Broncos, Reece Walsh got his shit together and just sort of converted on the chances and created instead of throwing the ball forward. And that obviously turned things around for Brisbane. They dug themselves out of a hole. I think that win against the Dolphins, when you're sitting in a hole like that and you come out of the other end victorious, it's gonna give them momentum and confidence, and it's something that they needed, and especially Reece Walsh needed. I think you've got to look at him now as one of those players that needs confidence and needs things to be going right, and he can build on that, because it feels like it helps him control his emotions in a positive way, where if he keeps making mistakes, he can be sort of go into that quicksand type of form where he just can't do anything right. So expect the Broncos to have a kick, and they're meeting Newcastle at the right time in their schedule, because they need a win to secure themselves a top 8 spot, and they're going to go a long way to making the finals if they run away with this one. But yeah, like, I don't know. But back to your point, like this, do you think Dylan Brown should have moved to Newcastle once signing throughout the year, or are you like anti that? Because that would have helped them save their season through a period there at Parramatta. He wasn't even playing in first grade. I think it's the perfect opportunity to go. Both parties should just agree and move if he wanted to. Because like, you just the Knights are just a doormat, and like, it's a shame because you don't ever want to see a team in the league just being like that. So
No, I think he should have. I think what's happened has happened, and I don't think mid-season moves are a great idea unless you have a proper transfer window and everybody's on board with it. But Newcastle, they've had a lot of injuries, but I think there's structural problems in the club around the coaching, around the way they select their team. There's deeper problems than what the roster is at the moment. But yeah, Brisbane will win. The Knights' defense has fallen off a cliff. They were one of the best teams in the league.
yeah.
Now, over the last 5 games, they're dead last, allowing 36
So why would
points
you?
per game.
Why would you? Why would you defend your line desperately? Like,
No. Final game of the round, and it's the Tigers are in hot form taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Pretty big projected score line here, you'd say, Jez. And the Cowboys haven't been fantastic away from home. They have the 13th ranked record away from home. They're 14th in attack and 14th in defense away from home. They haven't got a great record against anyone really. 6-5 against bottom 9 teams, 2-8 against top 8 teams. They're a bit on the stink for me.
yeah, but like, I don't know. This is a dangerous game. Like, obviously, it has no meaning on what's going to happen really in the top 8. It's all about pride and trying to build something, and people keeping their jobs and players playing in position. But it's like, you see the Cowboys when they turn on, like they did last week, like how just phenomenal their attack is, and how good is Scott Drinkwater. Like, we did a fullbacks rankings, and I was like, Drinkwater, nah. Like, you had him up there, top 3?
I think so,
And
yeah.
yeah, and it's like, but you see that when he's on and Dearden's on and everything's clicking, their attack is as good as any in the competition, but their defense is shit, and they need to sort it out. West Tigers are building. Like, that's why I think I've tipped the Tigers, purely because it feels like they're trying to build a culture there. The game means more to them than it does to the Cowboys. And that's sort of what you got to look at quite heavily and put a lot of weight on at this time of the year. If it's coming in teams fighting for finals, or teams just playing dead rubbers. And it means more to the Tigers. It means more to Benji and Luai, and building that culture heading into next year. And that's why I think you give them the benefit of the doubt, almost, that they're going to get over against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Big weekend of footy, especially on Friday night, and the prime time.
Yeah, we having
Saturday.
Friday off, or what? Are we having some lunch beers and getting ready for the footy, or or what?
It's a lock.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's got to be done. Take one of these mental health days.
That's it. Gotta love it. All right. Find us and follow us. Sports Pez Jez, Tuck Sport Takes, and over at bets.com.au. NRL News on Facebook as well. You can find us, game previews and stuff out on that channel. Send us home, buddy.
Guys, NRL tips are done, and make sure you hang with us and stay ahead of the game.